Joining us now, Democratic Senator from Delaware, Coons. I am earnest in my question, Senator. Why can't this get solved?
Well, Katie, tragically, partisan politics has prevented us from getting to a solution. I've been in the Senate more than a dozen years and have participated actively in several different bipartisan working groups. We spent hundreds of hours together in the last administration after President Trump told Senators Graham and Durbin that if they could come forward with a bipartisan proposal, he would embrace it and we'd be able to get something big done. We were bitterly disappointed, those of us who'd worked on that bill, when we got the bill to the floor, and that exact day, President Trump started calling members of the Senate to lobby against the bill. We had 60 votes when we started. When we finally called the roll, we only had 54. That would have put $25 billion into building the wall that President Trump was demanding in exchange for legalizing Dreamers and doing a number of other important things. Right now, as you know, Katie, a bipartisan group of senators is finishing weeks that they have spent negotiating, along with input from the Biden administration, a change in law to help promote border security, to help reduce the number of illegal crossings, to help make positive progress. My hope is that the former president, Donald Trump, will not once again weigh in and prevent that bipartisan compromise from moving forward.
I wonder if part of the issue, and I've been told this by very senior officials in former administrations who were in charge of issues like immigration, whether this is an issue that lawmakers, I'm not accusing you of anything, but that lawmakers broadly actually want to solve, or if it's a better issue for them politically because they can so effectively campaign on it.
Well, Katie, I can tell you I effectively want to solve this. So do many others. A bipartisan group of us went to the border to Yuma, Arizona, and to El Paso, Texas, and then to Mexico City last year. And out of those conversations, two good friends of mine, Congresswoman Veronica Escobar, a Democrat of El Paso, and Congresswoman Maria Salazar of Florida, wrote the Dignity Act, a broad, bipartisan, challenging bill that would deal with a whole range of things that we ought to be legislating towards. I haven't been able to get strong support for that in the Senate. It hasn't moved forward in the House. But they are the latest pair in a long number of House members and senators who, in the dozen years that I've been there, have tried to move forward. I agree that sometimes partisan politics encourages members to make a campaign issue out of this rather than solving it. But it's in the best interests of our nation that we promote border security, that we continue to increase legal migration, that we find paths towards legalization of those who are here and want to contribute to our society and meet the workforce challenges that we have, and that we fund the requests from the Biden administration to increase border security and to make possible a humane, safe, and legal immigration system. Katie, it's been broken for decades. It's going to take American voters saying, we're willing to have you compromise on a solution that will move us forward. My hope is that's what we'll see happen when we return from our New Year's break next week to the Senate.
I hear you. And when you're talking about voters broadly for the Senate, they're kind of different than voters broadly for individuals in the House, because the districts are gerrymandered. The primaries are, made up of the extreme wings of individuals' bases of support. So is it possible to fix an issue like this? Is it actually possible to fix an issue like this when you have so many in Congress who are beholden to very small minorities that are keeping them in office?
Well, Katie, I remember back when President Biden began running for the presidency in 2019, many of my colleagues derided him as out of touch and out of step because he believed in bipartisan solutions. Now look back at the record of the first 3 years of the Biden presidency. He has signed into law broad bipartisan bills to address gun safety, community mental health, investing in infrastructure, bringing manufacturing back to the United States, things that many thought we couldn't legislate on. He's found ways, we have found ways in Congress to get to his desk big bills that address all sorts of issues. If you're asking the question, is it possible for us to solve difficult problems? You're really asking the question, can democracy still work in America? I believe it can and it must. And our president is delivering an important speech tomorrow near Valley Forge, Pennsylvania, to remind us that the whole history of the United States has been overcoming huge challenges, finding ways to work together and to reach compromise, even on difficult and divisive issues. We're in a very hard, very partisan moment in our politics today. Our country's very divided. But frankly, we overcame the Great Depression. We overcame the Second World War. We have solved big problems together in the past. There's no reason that we can't solve big challenges today. And it's my hope that we'll once again prove that the American political system can work, must work, should work for the American people.
Senator, I'm out of time. Can you tell me in one word or two words, if you could fix one thing about our system, gerrymandering, campaign finance, what would you fix to make Congress work better?
Campaign finance is an absolutely critical issue. But frankly, trust in each other and our ability to find a way forward together underlies our challenges with the whole system.
Yeah, I think I'd say gerrymandering. Senator Chris Coons, thank you very much for joining us. Coming up.
Thanks.